What it do? Dreadnaught, PogChamp, Dreadnought. Let's get right into the video. So, the latest machine of war is revealed, and it's a redemptor dreadnought. The ones who wanted this, rejoice. Let's talk about him. Now, Glatian is the name of the redemptor dreadnought. He is the next machine of war that is releasing very soon. He's for the ultramarines faction. Just like any other machine of war, he has a primary ability that is very good, which costs a lot of munitions, and he has a secondary ability which does not cost munitions. His primary ability, and the main selling point of this character, is called Duty Eternal. Deploys Glatian as a stationary summon in a 3-hex area on the battlefield. He has a few stats, I will take a deeper dive into that later. His secondary ability, the one that does not cost resources nor does it have a cooldown, is called Macroplasma Incinerator. Marks a target hex and 2 hexes behind it for 1 round, deals 3 times 3000 plasma damage to all enemies in the marked area the first time an enemy unit ends their movement in it. The 3 hex is very similar to the Forge Fiend. However, unlike the Forge Fiend, the opponent actually has to move onto it to take the damage. If you use this ability on top of where an enemy is already standing and the enemy does not move, they do not take any damage. So it is less good. However, the secondary ability synergizes really well with the primary ability because you can use the secondary ability as an area denial tool to make your opponents take a longer time getting to you. So you can actually reach turn 3 where you get to summon Glatian and absolutely stat stick people into oblivion. Speaking of stat sticks, let's talk about his stats. Now, he's a dreadnought. He is very chonky. At max level, so level 50 primary ability and legendary 1-star, like the high star possible, he gets 19,940 health, 3,984 armor, and 2,194 damage. Now, when I'll be referring to this, I'll be saying 20,000 health, 4,000 armor, and 2,200 damage, just to, round it out. He is stationary. He does not move. So it is very important you actually think about where you deploy him, because if you deploy him and your opponent just can run away from him, or you deploy him in a poor position, he will not get to move, and your opponents can play around it that way. He is quite strong in the sense that he has 5 power melee hits and 6 projectile hits. He has a special passive called Ancient Fury. Now, the Ancient Fury, it's very worthy. Normal melee attacks also deal damage to enemy that is adjacent to both target and Glatian. Normal range attacks also deal damage to an enemy that is both adjacent to the target and exactly 2 hexes away from Glatian. What this essentially means is he gets to attack extra things when he's making normal attack. It's pretty good for horde clear and whatnot. It doesn't really come up too often. However, when it does, it's actually really nice. He does have some very good traits. He has the summon trait, the big target trait, overwatch, vehicle, and mechanical. I will explain why these traits are very good later. But first, I want to tell you that whenever you actually use the primary ability on turn 3, you lose the ability to use your secondary ability. So the secondary ability is clearly designed to make you survive and halt your opponent's progress until you can deploy the primary ability, because the primary ability is where this guy shines. Now, another spot where he shines is in the Egg Store Row team for the guild raids. Now, Egg Store Row team consists of Eldrion, which buffs everything, so I'm not going to mention him too much. Egg Store Row, which gets to attack whenever an enemy is attacked by a mechanical unit, and Glatian is mechanical. However, the main selling point is Tengida and Actus. I will read their passives really fast, and the important parts usually. Now, Tengida has a passive that has 2 parts. So there are 2 imperatives, the Protector imperative and the Conquer imperative. Protector essentially summons stuff, and the Conquer imperative makes summons attack. The active ability makes them transition between 2 different imperatives. So if you're a Conqueror and you use the active, you go into Protector and vice versa. I want to read Conqueror specifically. Conquer imperative, while it is active, after Tengida attacks, all friendly adjacent mechanical summons also immediately attack the target if it is within range. As I mentioned, Glatian is a mechanical, and he is a summon. So if Gita is standing next to Glatian, and Gita attacks the boss, Glatian will get to attack the boss because he's a summon. Now we can take that one step further, where Actus' passive is called Galvanic Field, and it reads, whenever Actus repairs another unit, that unit immediately attacks the target in range, dealing 100% of its own damage to a maximum of 6,000 damage per hit. Actus can repair other friendly units even if they are at full health. So remember, Glatian is a summon, so he gets to attack once at the start of the turn, and if Gita is next to him, when Gita attacks, Glatian will take another turn. And if Actus heals either Glatian or Gita, Glatian will get to attack a third time. Personally, I'm a fan of healing Gita, so other summons can also attack. It is what it is. Like, this is very strong. It seems very strong. He is a very strong machine of war for mechanical teams. He is significantly less good if you're not running a mechanical team. I've done some damage testing against the Screamer Killer, where I used the Ragnar comp with Glatian versus the Ragnar comp with the Forge Fiend, and I was not impressed by damage numbers at all. The Forge Fiend was actually doing similar damage, if not a little bit more than Glatian. However, this is not to say Glatian is a bad machine of war. He's just very good in specific situations, and in guild raid scenarios, mechanical team is where he really shines. Now, I have a very short proof of concept and a little bit of a gameplay. I'll show that and I'll be right back. Mid-video, what it do? Yo man, listen. I'm going to show you some gameplay and make some points. So let's get right into it, yeah? Glatian, as I mentioned in the video, you can only summon him on turn 3 because of his cooldown. And when you do summon him, he does not take a turn innately. That's why he's so good with the mechanical comp, because Gita, because of his 2-part passive, Protector and Conqueror imperatives, as I said in the video, Conqueror requires only mechanical and summons, and Glatian does fulfill both of those, where he's mechanical and a summon. So Gita starts in Protector, so what you want to do is you want to use his active ability. So now he is in Conqueror. As you saw, this guy had a little animation. So when I attack with Gita, he also attacks. When Actus heals Gita, Gita attacks, and then Glatian also attacks. This way, on turn 3, Glatian can get 2 attacks on. So he won't get pushed back because he's a big target. Now, Glatian attacks, pretty cool. And then Gita attacks, making Glatian attack a second time. Now, if you have Actus next to both Gita and Glatian, and he uses the active ability, it's going to make Glatian attack, Gita attack, and then Glatian attack a 4th time. And that's really strong. Now, Glatian, when he is summoned through his primary ability, stops being a machine of war and actually becomes a unit on board. I mean, that's pretty straightforward, but why am I mentioning this? It's because other machines of war actually benefit from Eldryon, all of them do. However, Glatian himself benefits from buffers. So he is an ultramarines unit, which means he's an Imperial. Imperial units benefit from Calgar's passive ability, and they get the bonus benefit. So Glatian has 2,194 attack. When Calgar stands next to him, this goes up to 3,492. If you put Athena next to him as well, this goes to 3,824, 92, sorry. Goodness, math, I've been told math is very hard. That's why we go into social sciences. Everyone says so. So he doesn't get the benefit of crit from Athena's passive because he does not have innate crit chance. However, that's fine. And he does use those with his attacks. So he does a lot of damage. And Gita. So it's actually an okay combo where he attacks multiple times with the buffs. You might be wondering why I use Actus on Gita instead of Glatian. Well, the reason being, usually, in an ideal situation, you want to have at least 2 other mechanical summons, most likely the Skitari Vanguard, next to Gita. That way you would proc egg store rose passive. The reason I'm not showing that now is one, it takes too long, and two, I don't want you guys, getting overwhelmed with the amount of stuff on the screen. I mean, there's a lot of things already. Anyways, and we'll just heal one more time, makes him attack, makes the guy attack. I just wanted to demonstrate that he can be buffed, and he benefits greatly from Gida and the Actus combo. I'll give it back to normal video. And we're back. Now, I want to talk a little bit about Guild Wars, because I do acknowledge that this guy seems very daunting because of his stat line. 20,000 health and 4,000 armor is a lot to get through. However, I want to emphasize that these values are at the max level, and it does take a few events to get him there, and you do have to allocate a lot of resources. So most people will never have to see a max level Glatian ever. But if you do have to fight him, there are a lot of things you can do to combat the character. For example, his biggest weakness is his movement and his deployment. So, because you're going to be fighting against an AI opponent in Guild Wars, they will try to deploy him in just an open area. And he can't be on differently elevated hexes, so you can get a basic understanding of where the character can be deployed. That way you can try to prevent it with your characters, or perhaps by avoid spore mines and whatnot. So there's a little bit of counterplay there. Or you can try to rush your opponent, because remember, you don't have to kill Glatian in Guild Wars because he's a summon. You just have to kill the 5 characters your opponent controls. So if you keep your characters who move fast, maybe some 4 movement characters such as Ragnar, or maybe some 5 movement characters such as Athena or whatnot, and just rush your opponent, because remember, turn 1, you can't, he doesn't get summoned. Turn 2, he doesn't get summoned. Turn 3, he gets summoned, but he can't attack. You can use 3 range characters, because he's stationary and he only has 2 range shooting. So 3 range characters will completely outrange him. And just to put into perspective his damage stats, a max level Glatian gets 20,000 health, 4,000 armor. A max level Ulf passive gets 10,000 damage. So when he gets summoned, Ulf can go next to him, use his active ability, do around 8,000 damage with pierce ratio, and then when the turn starts, because the boss Glatian is just going to take a turn, Ulf will attack before him, because remember, Glatian is a summon, and that's 18,000 damage, give or take. Armor gets applied, but that's still a lot of damage you can do. So this thing is not invincible. If you're going to talk about like, oh, this guy has this much armor, and take the values at max level, you should also take the values of actual characters at max level as well. And important to note, you can ignore him, like I said. You don't have to kill him in Guild Wars. So that's a big point too. Now, with all that being said, should you get him in the next incursion event? I'm just going to establish a few points. He is very good in the mech team. However, he is very expensive, and he is map dependent. Certain maps, they have a lot of elevation differences, and you will really struggle deploying this guy. And the fact of the matter is, he simply does not match the utility of the Biowar. So when you're getting this character, if you have the mech team and are willing to spend 3 munitions every time you play him, then you should get him. However, if you don't have the mech team, or if you're not willing to spend 3 munitions every guild raid, then you should just get Biowar. I think the utility is way more important, and it is significantly less punishing to misplay it. And he's not as crazy as he seems for Guild Wars and Tournament Arena and whatnot. Anyways, that's the video. Bloody Rose Discord server, link in the description. You should join, we'll chat. It's a nice place. Video ideas come from there, so I would like to see you there. Thank you very much for watching the video. Special thanks to Dieselfox, Papa John, Lita Llama, Sarp, Heartswept, Ascleon, Yeris, Bruce Makes Loop, Proson, Infinite Power, Uzelta4, Cinnamon Prophet for entering my referral friend code. It genuinely means a lot to me. It's in the middle of the screen. If you enter it, you get 100 Blackstone. It's a great way to support the channel. Once again, thank you very much. I really appreciate you giving me the time of day. Have a good day, and stay safe.